What's up, guys? It's Lord Both here with another video, and Dragon Age Veilguard's release is upon us. And everything I'm seeing from this game just makes me sad, man. I was a huge fan of Dragon Age Origins. I liked Dragon Age Inquisition. I wasn't so hot on Dragon Age 2, but it's grown on me as the years have gone by. But this thing, it's really starting to look like the Saints Row reboot, but of Dragon Age. It looks... I'm just depressed, man. But our favorite shill media is out with their reviews now, and they really are shilling hard for this game. This IGN post particularly caught my eye. If we never get another Dragon Age, at least it got to go out on a high note with Dragon Age the Veilguard, and they gave it a 9 out of 10. First off, keep in mind that this is the company that gave Concord, yes, Concord, that got canceled and refunded to the people who bought it. Concord that took 8 years and $400 million to develop and is quite honestly the largest financial disaster in gaming history. They gave that game a 7 out of 10. I think they only gave that game 1 point lower than the rating they gave Black Myth Wukong. Another thing is, I like this statement. If we never get another Dragon Age, at least it got to go out on a high note. It's like they're acknowledging, yes, we know everybody hates this game before launch, and we know it's not going to sell well. But hey, we got paid to shill, and we're gonna shill. This is their article they had attached to it. It's their review. Dragon Age The Veilguard Review. A reinvigorating sequel for the series that leaves no doubt about its place in the RPG pantheon. Well, Origins did. I don't know about this piece of dog shit. With this game coming in the wake of the debacle that was Anthem, yes, it's self-preceded by Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda, which were both merely alright in hindsight. Yeah, Mass Effect Andromeda with the dead eyes. That was merely alright in hindsight. And a Dragon Age Inquisition. Again, I'm in the minority that I like Dragon Age Inquisition, but I recognize the fact that that game was not well received by a large swath of fans. I wasn't sure these former masters of the role-playing craft could make a game like this anymore. Yeah, then the giant bags of money dropped in, and I decided, hey, this game is great. Veilguard's level design was one of the first things that jumped out at me, reminding me of the original Star Wars: The Knights of the Old Republic more than anything. Oh, what are we doing?
How dare you stand where he stood?
I was very pleased with the character designs too. The armor and outfits are fabulous. Fabulous, guys. They're fabulous. I spent more than an hour in the character creator like I usually do, and came out, I bet you came out, with a version of our protagonist Rook who delighted me every time she was in frame. This might be some of the best looking hair I've ever seen. Dude, we're doing the hair thing again? We're really doing the hair thing again.
Hiya!
It's like they took one comment about the hair and they just fixated on it and was damned to make sure that be a focal point of the character design. It reminds me of the time when my wife and I were dating, and at some point I pulled out my wallet and I said, you know, I've had this wallet since I was like 13 years old. And then she bought me a wallet for Christmas, and I was super confused as why she bought me a wallet. And she was like, well, you said you had a wallet since you were 13, so I figured that was like you trying to tell me that you've had it for a long time, you needed a new one, so I got you a wallet. Even though the wallet that I had was perfectly fine, and I was just making a comment about how I had had it since I was 13 years old. It's like you fixated on the very wrong detail there, and you ran with it for some odd reason that you didn't have to. Through the crackle and sparks, though, Veilguard's combat is definitely a refinement of what we saw in Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition. I've always preferred more tactical style of Dragon Age Origins or Baldur's Gate 3, but that ship sailed so long ago for the studio. So yeah, it's what we thought it was going to be. It's God of War style combat. Except apparently you don't even control the companions anymore like you used to. I was somewhat disappointed that party members are more like extensions of your own character in combat at this point rather than their own entities. They don't even have health bars, for instance. They can't be knocked out in combat, whereas you instantly lose an encounter if Rook goes down. So they're not really companion characters, they're just tools to bring along with you. So not only does it not look like Dragon Age anymore from all the visuals we've seen, it doesn't operate like Dragon Age anymore either. In a sense that a BioWare RPG is really about your companions, also known as the friends we made along the way, this might be the most BioWare game of all time. Not only is the whole squad made up of complex, memorable, likable, distinct personalities from across Thetis, including our non-binary Kunari, who were, originally depicted as hulking monsters to be a negative viewed allegory for communism, are now gentle, soft-featured, femboy-looking archetypes, but they're all treated as stars of their own story. Veilguard is light on that classic kind of side quest that's like, help Bingo Bongo find some nug grease. Oh, so they didn't want to put any work in one-off narrative features. I got it. And I don't miss those much because they've been replaced by full-length heroic arcs for each companion, with twists, turns, a personal nemesis, major character developments, and a moment of triumph fit for a protagonist rather than a sidekick. It's like the writers took the loyalty missions from Mass Effect 2 and blew them up into several miniature games of their own. That's wild.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
And while we've been asked by the devs not to spoil specifically who I'm talking about as a non-binary person myself, Veilguard includes some of the most authentic representation coming to terms with gender stuff and having to navigate your family's reaction to it. I've seen yet in game. I think we all know what is the most accurate depiction of a trans person in video games, though.
Serona, please. And I was happy to help. Oh, those two are nothing but trouble. Glad you and your friend were here when they found you.
And we all know why there. It doesn't feel like an after-school special or like I'm being pandered to. It's quite well handled, and finding out that the writer for this character is non-binary themselves did not surprise me at all. Yeah, it doesn't surprise any of us at all, because it's agenda stuff. Why do we have this in a fantasy game setting? It's real-world bullshit about changing your gender and your bits and hormones and all that stuff, and it's political in nature, which makes it divisive in nature right now, and we just don't want it in there. Why are you doing this?
Oh, come on!
Here's an interesting criticism. The pacing early on is kind of weird, and I felt like I could practically smell the rewrites. If the shill is saying that the rewrites are obvious, then this thing is hitting you over the head with the rewrites. The next Mass Effect is going to have a very tough act to follow. Well, no, it's not. If it gets made at this point, because this game is probably not going to do well sales-wise. If we never get another Dragon Age, at least it got to go out on a high note. Again, that's that quote there that says, we know this game isn't going to sell well either. And that's the IGN shill review. Of course, this shill, Kotaku, Dragon Age the Veilguard, the Kotaku review, the long-awaited fourth entry in BioWare's fantasy series, isn't just good, it's some of the studio's best work. Yeah, it's not surprising on that. By the way, a lot of these reviews, including the Kotaku review, start off the same way, trying to put you on the back foot by saying, we didn't think this game was going to be good first, but guess what? It turned out it was. Trying to hit you with the, hey, we're just like you. We weren't interested in this game. We thought it was going to be terrible. But hey, hear me out. But no, it's just the same shilling as usual. And on top of the story that recently came out, in which a female streamer claims that she was able to get a review code of Dragon Age just by telling the developers that she was non-binary in messages, we also have this story dropping. This comes to us from That Park Place. Streamers critical of BioWare's Dragon Age the Veilguard not given review codes. YouTuber Wolfheart FPS reports that at least 3 streamers and YouTubers that were critical of Dragon Age the Veilguard during the initial playtest have not been given review codes of the full game. He states on a post on X, 3 creators, myself included, were a bit more critical than others with our hands-on time with Dragon Age the Veilguard. Not a single one of us will be getting a review code with time to actually give opinions before release. Just thought I would throw that out there. What did he say that was so controversial that got him to be excluded from full game review codes? Well, he finished his review by saying this: I just can't confidently say to you all though, as my audience, that yeah, this is a definite buy. My guess is that this game will unfortunately continue to be quite divisive, but I could be wrong. For myself, the potential story and world building is a powerful enough force to the DA franchise that I'll be playing it no matter what. And there are certainly some cool things that I talked about in the video. But I don't really see any world where this could be like my game of the year or anything like that. A few of the negatives that I mentioned in the video, they just feel a little too impactful for what I personally value in games, specifically RPGs. So even then, this guy Wolfheart and a few other streamers that he knew seemed like there were a lot of elements that he praised in the game and he actually liked. And he does, kind of like me, seem like he was a fan of the franchise and was still going to probably end up getting this game, despite all the negative stuff we've heard about it. But he was denied a code simply because he was a little bit more critical, and everyone he knows that was critical of this game were also denied codes? Just so what? So Veilguard doesn't face that much marketing backlash? Because it already knows it has an uphill battle to climb in terms of selling the fans on the game? Because guess what? When you prioritize identity and agenda and politics over just making a good game with good mechanics and a good storyline that doesn't bring any modern bullshit into it, yeah, you're going to get negative press on that, especially from a group like gamers. But yeah, this is just another sad story, man. From what I've heard, this game has a lot of bad mechanics and is going to be a buggy, broken mess on release, just like so many other games these days. And on top of it, it has the agenda stuff all throughout the storyline, which, yes, that's going to be the main thing a lot of people are going to pay attention to. But when you have that on top of the bad mechanics, on top of all the bugs and being a mess, yeah, that altogether is what's going to kill this game and kill the franchise. The agenda stuff is what's going to drive people not to buy, maybe, but the mechanic stuff is going to be the stuff that makes sure that this game is not just bought, but is irrelevant within the legacy gaming sphere. So not only will this game be a financial failure, it will also have zero cultural impact. Which is funny because that's really what these agenda people writing in this game want. And it's clear they just don't understand how to get that. But those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you like this video, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I appreciate you watching all of it. And we'll talk to you again later.